Alrighty, welcome to a special interview in the clubhouse with the one and only Bob Gauvreau. Bob, how you doing, man?
I'm great, Rob. Always good to see you.
Yeah. So we were just recapping our 10-year journey together, which started you doing a search from Canada back in 2010, and somehow you found me online. So give us a sense way back then, Bob. What did the business used to look like, the accounting business of Gauvreau and Associates?
Yeah, so I started it from scratch in 2008 and started to get a handle on what it is I wanted to be essentially as an accounting firm leader. And so in 2010, I had started a search looking at how I could become proactive and how I could get ahead of the curve instead of just dealing in the compliance world, which we all still do to a certain extent, but was really looking to see how I could put myself ahead of the curve and go out and reach those clients before. Now, back in 2010, I would have been around a $300,000 to $350,000 firm. So a lot has changed since then.
Yeah. We'll get to the present day in a moment. We'll just sort of piece together the history here. And then when you found us in Australia, we posted a workflow challenge, like register for this. And from memory, we monitored your lockup, work in progress, accounts receivable days, 90-day education, and the objective at the end was to win the most improved. So you signed up for that, which was awesome. So we coached you on that. Do you remember what the results were from the start of that 90 days till the end of the 90 days?
Yeah, so the goal was, and specifically for us, was how can we get our turnaround time more improved, right? Because I think at that time, based on when we would get work into the office to get it back out to the clients, we were around the 30-day mark. Which in that competition, if I remember, we were probably around the 1/3 mark. So a lot of people were far worse than that, which was, kind of nice to see. But then ultimately, by the end of the 30-day challenge, we were able to get our workflow out the door within 10 days.
Wow.
And so that was 10 years ago. And that's still our objective now, is to continue to get workflow in and out within 10 days.
Cool. And then we met, because we hadn't met at this point in time. We met in 2016 in Las Vegas at a conference I was presenting at. What was the revenue back in 16? Because that's really when we started working together from 16 onwards.
Yeah, we'd always had what I perceived to be a decent growth. And so if we were 350 in 2010, I think by the point we had met, we were around 600, maybe just over 600,000 in revenue.
Okay. And then I started coaching you in early 18. Do you remember what the revenue was in early 18? It was about 1.2, if I recall.
Yeah, we had actually gone through a slight acquisition at that point to bump us up to 1.2. So we were working on that piece. Which even gets the results even better, because the acquisition piece was really difficult and didn't end up working out. So by the time you and I had met, we kind of drifted back down, right at the time that we connected, back down to around that 750 mark. So to think of the results you and I got together are even more dramatic.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So 2 years later, here we are in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, September 2020. What's going to be the revenue this year, do you think?
We will definitely hit 3 million this year.
Which is pretty impressive, right? When you think about it, to grow the top line, and particularly this challenging year. And I know you told me last week that you've been growing quite a lot. And it's awesome, man. It's awesome. And along the way, any more acquisitions, or has it all been organic growth?
No acquisitions. Tried it twice, hated it both times. Culture discrepancies between two offices, especially if you're a proactive accountant, right? Yeah. Coming in, dealing with someone. The last time, essentially, we re-energized a retiring partner, and he went back into business.
Right.
We got him so excited about what it was that we were doing. He's like, "Oh, I should have been doing this for years. I'm going to carry on for a while." So this is all organic growth from $0 to $3 million in 12 years.
Awesome. But what's really impressive, I think, is the nearly tripling of growth in the last 2 years. I find with firms, Bob, the hurdle of getting to $1 million is probably the hardest piece. Then after that, you get momentum, and you've gone from 1.2 to to 3 in effectively 2 years flat. So, mate, massive congrats on that. Tell me.
And Rob, yeah, like I'm super grateful because I would not have been here if I hadn't connected with you, and super grateful for everything that you've brought to the table for us. And I know we've had the opportunity to bring some team members out and to experience the real Rob Nixon in person. And you know what? It's always mind blowing for our team to really understand the different way that people can think.
You
And
bet.
you always bring that to the table.
Well, man, I'm merely the ideas generator, the strategist, the antagonist, the prodder. You've got to do the work, right? And you've implemented, and we're about to find out what you've actually done to get that growth. Because no matter which way you look at it, to grow a business takes time, it takes energy, it takes strategy, it takes implementation. Give us a laundry list of some of the highlight things on what you've done to effectively triple the revenue in 2 years.
Yeah, and I would say triple the revenue and have a lead flow right now that like we can't even keep up with. Like the people are knocking down the business right now, which is super, super cool. So we get to pick the A players that we want to deal with. So, you know, we've tried a whole bunch of different marketing plans. We brought in a marketing person a few years back. They were more focused on brand strategy versus lead gen. So that was, you know, a little bit different, but at that point we really focused on getting our brand right and getting our target market nailed down, which was super cool. Even though that marketing person didn't work out, we were able to really nail down and isolate who it was that we wanted to work with, which is entrepreneurs and for-profit businesses and professionals. So we really focused on that. We started creating content, a lot of video content. I wrote a book. Again, just creating lots of material that we could continue to give away to people, all with the intent that we wanted to give them away, create a know, like, trust factor for us as an accounting firm. And right out of the gates, it was always my intention that I wasn't necessarily going to take people away from other accounting firms, but I always wanted to be the number one alternative if anyone was ever going to make a change. And if anything, we've just expanded that from being a local approach to being a North American approach right now, where we want to be the number one choice for anyone who wants to change from who they are working with right now to a new resource.
So let's just unpack that a bit. You've turned the marketing machine on. At my encouragement, you wrote a book and you called it The Wealthy Entrepreneur, which is awesome. You haven't really picked a niche market industry. You've picked a sector like entrepreneurs, which is sometimes a bit harder to do for lead generation because you're looking for, you know, an entrepreneur, not so much like for a dentist, for example, or a body shop. How have you gone about that? Has it been the book that's been the front end to the whole thing? What's been the key lead generation tool for you?
Yeah, and I guess we are just focused on entrepreneurs. We do have a few like sub niches that are in there. Contractors for sure. Anybody who's working with tools, whether it's construction, development, plumbing, electrical, professionals, whether it's medical, of any sort, we tend to work with those. And online businesses, specifically coaches, have been, you know, another sort of niche market. What we've essentially done is we've gone in to whether it's professional industries or whether it's, business coaches, for example, work with a lot of entrepreneurs very frequently. So if we go in, we have one relationship that we work really closely with where they serve contractors as a business coach. We acquired them as a client and then just did such a great job delivering exceptional service for them that they said, we want to introduce you to our entire community. So we've really focused on that as a way to generate and drum up more and more lead generation for us.
Awesome. So tell me the structure of the business. Still a sole practitioner, or you were talking about bringing a partner in a couple of years back?
Yeah, I'm still the only owner. I've brought on one partner a few years back who's exceptional, but he's a contract partner. But he gets incentive for the business doing really well. Essentially, his job is to work on making sure that the work is getting out the door and that it's being done at a high quality rate. From there, we have a tax manager, an accounting manager, a bookkeeping manager to essentially oversee the 3 services. We now have an operations and human resources director,
Okay.
Which is pretty amazing because we've added, I think, 5 people in the last 5 months. So trying to keep up with the talent acquisition is becoming, the next step of growth for us. And then I still oversee any of the business advisory or the business coaching services that we offer inside our firm.
So what's the headcount at the moment, Bob? What's the total full-time equivalent headcount?
Yeah, a new guy started today is number 22.
Number 22. All right. So with that, you've got a fair bit of capacity for growth then as well.
We certainly do, both physically and with our team. Now, our plan is to continue to stay ahead of the curve for now.
Yep.
So we're going to continuously recruit and attract new people. If we get a good candidate, we'll hire them, even if we already still have capacity with our team. We're not necessarily just worried about making money in 2020. We're worried about making money in 2025 at a much bigger scale.
Mm-hmm. So how big do you want to grow the business? What do you think?
Well, my plan is, and I was sharing this with you, Rob. I think the announcement's coming out on Friday. Our team has just been ranked as one of the top growing businesses in the country, not accounting firm in the country, one of the top growing businesses in the country, which is super exciting for me. And I know our growth rate in the last 12 months has far exceeded that. So we plan on being in that ranking for quite some time. My goal is to hit that $10 million revenue mark. For me, it's always been my thought and my intent that I want to be the sought after business advisor in my space. And so I feel like if we can attain enough market share in that space, that will be something we'll be able to get to, knowing that, in the Canadian market space, the top 20 firms, I think when you hit the bottom 20, they're just over that $10 million mark. Obviously up to the multinational firms that are extremely large, but we can compete in that top 20 to top 30 firms in the country and be the number 1 designated to our target market.
So with that, grow to 10 mil. Many firms at 10 mil might have 6 or 8 or maybe 10 partners. Is the intention to bring on partners, or are you going to more a corporate structure that you're going to have going on?
We're going to bring on contract partners to continue to deliver a specialized service.
So what's your definition of a contract partner? How does that work?
Yeah, somebody who is a part of profit sharing.
Yep.
That is part of the firm's success, but doesn't have ownership.
Got it.
Over any of the equity.
Got it. You mentioned before, like you're north of Toronto and Peterborough, that you're, from what I think I heard, you're targeting businesses in mainland USA. Is that what you're doing as well?
Yeah, so 95% of our business is in Canada, but that's our plan is to change that for a few reasons. One, the US dollar is so great right now that, if I'm charging in Canadian dollars, it seems greatly discounted in the US market, which is exciting. 2, I feel like the US market is more willing to invest in improving themselves. So we've created a virtual CFO program. And in essence, we go in as a contract CFO. There's an individual program and a group program that we've created. And a lot of people in the US are very interested in this. Now, the other thing I would say about the US market is from a bookkeeping standpoint, it is much more simplified than the Canadian bookkeeping market, where there's a lot more sales tax implications. In the US, especially in the online space, there's really no sales tax implications as of right now. So it's simpler, I make more money, and the people are more interested in bettering their position, which makes me super excited about it. Plus their market's 10 times our size.
Yeah, so if you look at, the Canadian and Australian, what we'd call the tall poppy syndrome, right? Which is don't rise up too high, we'll chop you down. It doesn't exist in the US, which is super exciting, right? And you being in one of the fastest growing companies in Canada is, America will applaud you for that, right? And say, well done you. And the cool thing about that, Bob, is that you can, with what you've been implementing, you can show those clients on how to do that as well if they're interested in that, because you've become a great success. You'll become more of a success in the future, and they can ride off that. I love what you're doing with that. That's really cool. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you know what? It's interesting because I think there's so many people out there who are impersonating coaches or are trying to be advisors to say, hey, we're going to help you grow, right? You've been there, Rob. You've grown a very successful large business. I have grown a very successful large business. When people are looking to try and replicate that and to do that for themselves, they should go to somebody who's been there, done that, right?
Okay.
And, if anything, we're proud of that because now we go, look, guys, we're not only telling you that this is what you need to do, this is what we're actually doing in our business as well. So it's, it's pretty cool. And to your point, I think the US market will be very excited about that, and will maybe lead to additional buy-in to our programs.
And Bob, here we are, right? And what I love about this is that I love lots of what's going on. We've known each other a long time. You've taken this whole lockdown COVID thing and turned into an opportunity where since March, the accounting firm has become borderless. People are on their cameras, on their computers, and client communication acceptance levels have changed forever. So you can have a client, you're in Toronto, you can have a client in Los Angeles, you can have a client in Australia if you choose. You've picked a service of virtual CFO, which is non-compliant service. And you can do it anywhere. Love it, love it, love it, mate. Well done. Really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know what, if anything, that's, with COVID, it expanded our market opportunities. But it also really provided those advisors who really want to be advisors, right? I jumped in full steam ahead, not only to my community, but to any of my colleagues' communities that I could jump into. And we helped people, we grabbed their hand and pulled them across the line into survival mode. And you know what? Whenever we as advisors have an opportunity to step up and be a leader and to provide that value, man, we created some really, really strong relationships that I know if 2020 growth has been good, 2021 is going to be lights out for us.
Yeah. Well, you've built the foundation, all those years ago, you built the foundation of workflow. I know you changed your pricing model as well to be more monthly recurring revenue, which is where it should be at. You've changed your product mix, your delivery mix. You've upped your game for the offices and the environment. I saw the new office there. And now in the last 2 years, we've turned the lead machine on with lead generation. And, you turn that machine on and you can get as much as you want, Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the last count I had this month was 34 new client meetings, in the last 30 days is pretty high, right? So, that's trying to schedule Mondays and Fridays for me without having any client meetings. So that's, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Plus I do my one-on-one coaching with my virtual CFO program. And so my schedule is jam-packed. And then on Monday, Fridays, we try and do content development, do videos, do training, and, essentially continue to try and up-level by working with people like you and other business coaches that we work with to make sure that we're always at the top of our game.
So just on that, many firms want to change, right? They want to re-engineer, reimagine, grow their business, whatever it is. What have you found has been the best part of us working together, and what would you recommend to other firms that are looking at doing something with their firms and with me?
Yep. And so what I would say is, all of us are advisors, and when people come to us, the real value that we give them is our experience seeing it over and over again. So what I will say, Rob, is working with you, you deal with people just like me every single day. So when I go to you and I say, hey, I've got this problem or this opportunity, or what does that look like? You've seen it 45 times over. You've seen how people have implemented it. You've seen what's worked, what hasn't worked. And you know what, although we've hit this $3 million growth phase, there's so many people who are very, very stale in their growth, and that's okay. But if you want to get there, instead of trying to recreate the wheel as accountants, right? Let's go out and work with those people that we know, like, and trust and have been there and done that. And then even greater, which is really cool with your program, Rob, is that you bring in other people who are in the same spot so that we can collaborate with each other and learn from you and get the advice on what's worked and what hasn't worked. Because otherwise, we're just going to be in this stale plateau where we just keep going around in the same circle. So let's continue to learn from those people who've been there, done that. Let's learn from and challenge each other to do better. And that's part of the fun, right? You know, a lot of people say, why are you focused on growth? And I'm like, well, I'm focused on growth because I want to continue to be the best. And I want to surround myself with those that want to continue to be the best as well. And that's why your program and those that are in your program are such a next up level to anyone who's interested in being the best version of themselves.
Well, man, super proud. We've had a lot of good times the last, since we physically met in 16. And I know for the next at least 10 years, we're going to catch up. Whenever we can fly again, I'm coming to Toronto. I've got a couple of golf courses to knock off around your area.
Absolutely. We'll get it lined up.
We're getting lined up. I've got the hat wall behind me. I've got a top 100 in the world. There's 2 not too far from you. So we've got to play those and have some fun. Man, super proud of you. Well done. Really appreciate what you've done. Really appreciate you. All the best, man. Take care. Thank you very much.
Thanks for everything, Rob. Appreciate it.